Hello, my name is Linda Wright and I'm recording this from my teaching station at my home office in Würzburg, Germany. It's January 2022 and I'm coming to you from a background of teaching English for academic purposes, primarily in full-time positions in universities in Germany for over a decade and a half. Sometimes I take on adjunct work, especially now that it involves less travel. And in this context, at the University of Marburg, I met
Hi, my name's Andreas and I've been in tech support at the University of Marburg for the past 8 years. As part of my job, I help teachers find their way around Ilias, which is the primary learning management system used at the University of Marburg. I have also been very busy in the last year and a half helping people to become familiar with the sometimes overwhelming number of tools used in online teaching. And since Moodle and Ilias are the two most widely used learning management systems in German secondary and tertiary education, we will take a look at both of these today.
Yes, I think it would be fair to say that since we started doing so much of our teaching online, we've become more aware of the importance of the job that Andreas and people like him do. I know too that many people in tech support and admin have been explaining certain possibilities of digital teaching all along, even long before March of 2020. The pandemic did give many of us as teachers a certain needed push. Now that we are so far outside of those original comfort zones, we are taking advantage of more of the activities and features of learning content management systems like Ilias and Moodle. Even though I personally have been using Moodle since 2007, until last year, it was much more a question of basics. Establishing a schedule, uploading a few files, putting up a few links for each class day. So much more than that is at our disposal. Now, for instance, I regularly give feedback to voice recordings that the students upload. I create interactive exams. I tailor tasks to my class content that the students can use for further practice on their own. So, when I got to Marburg last semester, I wanted to do these things in Ilias too. That was when I had the good fortune to meet Andreas. And he was so good at explaining the ways in which certain features worked in Ilias, and we worked so well together that we were inspired to make this video of an IT administrator and an English teacher looking at Ilias and Moodle and comparing them from our own professional perspectives. Before we start comparing Ilias and Moodle, we should define and contextualize the notion of a learning management system. An LMS is comprehensive, integrated software that supports the development, delivery, assessment, and administration of courses in traditional face-to-face, blended, or online learning environments. LMS systems are known by various names. You might have heard the term course management system before, virtual learning environment, virtual learning system, learning portal, or e-learning platform. There are a great number of LMS to choose from. StudIP and Nearpod must be familiar to my current students at the University of Hanover's English department. In the practical part of this class, we will try out some of the features of at least Ilias. A number of different LMS are used in secondary school education in Lower Saxony, including significantly the two LMS that we are covering in this video today. Now I am bringing up my dashboard on Moodle for my class in Frankfurt. You can see that I have used my own pictures to represent my different classes. I've also used my own pictures to represent the different topics within a given class. These pictures also correspond to topics from the textbook. For another class in Frankfurt, I included pictures from the book. You can see the expanded form of the class content here and the various tasks I created for the weekly sessions. Unfortunately, it's not that easy to collapse the content to get to an overview, once the expanded form has already been opened. Now let's have a look at my personal desktop in Ilias. Thumbnails for the different classes cannot be made distinct through pictures. Within my class, I had the possibility of choosing this one picture of a wooden keyboard to provoke students' curiosity about an approach to academic writing. At the top of my class, I have a range of meta information about the class stored in an accordion structure. Below, within the class days, I have tasks that transcend the actual class days, such as this book that has various chapters containing activities and resources for building academic vocabulary. As you can see, there is less room for creativity here in Ilias. Convenient and logical organization of course material is the main concern. Now Andreas and I are going to briefly go through 5 areas that are facilitated by Moodle and Ilias: organization, feedback, motivation, communication, teaching tools.
What you're looking at here is an empty Ilias course. This is where you will create and structure course content. In order to do that, you will want to add new items, which you do by clicking the green button in the upper right corner. This list contains all the items that you can add to an Ilias course. If you're coming from Moodle, you'll be familiar with the terms activities and materials. Ilias does not make that distinction and instead uses the umbrella term items for all of these. In German, the term used is Objekt. These items are sorted into different categories like organization, communication, and so on. I went ahead and added some items to the course. This is how Ilias presents items in a course or folder. They're displayed in a list that can optionally be split into different groups for better readability. Some of these exist by default, like the sessions and the content group. You can always add your own, like I did with the communication group. The German term for these features will vary. For example, groups in the German Ilias are called Blöcke. Sessions are where you would typically bundle the course material for each unit or lesson that your course consists of. Additionally, I created the communication group in order to have a single go-to place for anything communications related, like chat rooms, forums, or the weekly video conferences. The content group is a catch-all place, where any item in your course ends up if it's not linked to a session or another group. There is another way to display course contents besides the list view. You can act the tiled view mode that displays items as tiles within the item groups. This is what it looks like. You can add title images to each tile that would be shown where there's just a flat color right now. The tiled mode comes with a couple of drawbacks though. You spend more time scrolling as the tiles take up much more vertical space than the list items. It is also harder to tell the difference between item types compared to the list mode. The plus side of the tiles is that they can add visual appeal. This can be useful, for example, for events which would need fewer total items. An important concept that sets Ilias apart from Moodle is linking items to sessions. Sessions are not like folders where you can put stuff in. Instead, they behave more like collections of connections to other items. Take a look at the sessions I created for the example course. You'll notice that the first 2 sessions contain individual homework assignments. All 3 of them contain a folder called additional material. These are not 3 individual folders. It's the same folder I created before that was placed in the content group. I just linked this folder to each of the sessions. If we scroll down, we'll notice that it's gone from that group because, as I said earlier, it's used by the 3 sessions. So in summary, objects live independently of sessions and can be linked to multiple sessions at once. Another important object type is the learning module. You can find it in the content category of the items menu. Learning modules are an excellent way to create exercises and self-assessment tests. They're also one of the few items in Ilias where you can provide automatic feedback easily. Learning modules are structured like books. They consist of chapters that contain pages or other chapters. You have a wide range of question types available when creating exercises. They range from simple multiple choice questions to open-ended questions and interactive images. You can set up automatic feedback for different conditions, like correct answers, partially correct answers, or wrong answers given.
This is a menu, if you will, of all the features available in Ilias. As Andrea said, in Ilias, these are called objects. Ilias was released in Germany 23 years ago. Integrated Learning Information System are parts of the acronym that we can translate from the German. Moodle was released in Australia in 2002. That was a Moodle course as it was first handed over to me. There is a lot that can be added to this clean slate in the middle and in the column on the left and the right. That's a much different format than what you see in Ilias. In editing mode, I can change the format from topics to weeks. I can hide content from students at will. In contrast to Ilias, resources and activities are distinct in Moodle and designated specifically to course days or topics. Here are some files, surveys, and tasks I can create for this class.
There are two types of feedback that Ilias provides, automatic and manual. We can add automatic feedback in learning modules and tests. Right now, I'm editing a question that I've created in a learning module. If I wanted to add feedback, I'd navigate to the Feedback tab, where I can write a feedback text for when the correct answer is selected and for when at least one selected answer was wrong. What I write here is up to me. I can give hints or refer to lessons where this specific type of concept is explained. Tests offer even more options to provide automatic feedback. I went ahead and created a test, and inside this test I created a simple multiple choice question. You'll notice the three tabs: feedback, hints, and content for recapitulation. Each of these offers automatic feedback options. The common solution feedback category is the same as we saw earlier for learning modules. What's new is the feedback for every answer category. Here we can enter feedback for each individual answer option, as well as decide when the feedback is shown. The hints section is where you can add hints for questions you create. Students can then request hints if they feel the need to. For this question, I created two hints in advance. A hint consists of the hint text, as well as the number of points that will be removed from the overall score if this hint is activated. I chose the first hint to be free, so no points will be deduced. The order in which the hints appear in this list is the order in which they will be revealed to students. After a test is done, students might feel the need to rehearse some of the material. This is where you can provide convenient and relevant links to Ilias lessons or other types of material that helps them with that. They have access to it once the test is completed. If you're working with assignments, you're mostly limited to manual feedback. Let's see what that looks like. The Submissions and Grades tab provides access to all submissions and the different ways for me to give feedback. Those are evaluation by mail, by file, and by writing a short text. Evaluation by email allows me to compose an email that contains my feedback and optionally any attachments that I want to send along with it. I can select evaluation by file if my feedback is contained in a text file, for example, because I added my feedback right there in the file that a student submitted. Writing an evaluation statement is the quickest way to provide feedback. It's a plain text field for you to enter any feedback you have. You can also enable peer feedback in the exercise settings. This allows other students to provide feedback on their classmates' submissions. If enabled, you'll find two additional items in the Actions menu. Those take you to the feedback that this particular student has given and to the peer feedback they have received. The only thing that comes close to automatic feedback for assignments is the sample solution. We can provide a sample solution to students by moving to an assignment settings and scrolling all the way down to the After Submission category. After enabling the sample solution option, we can upload a file and decide when to make the solution available to students.
Some forms of feedback are a question of plugging in multiple choice, true, false, and fill in the blank type exercises in Moodle. Drag and drop menus vary the format. Those are automatic feedback forms. At the B2 level, it is especially important, however, that the students use language creatively. Here I can write longer comments and advice concerning word choice and grammar in response to audio files and extended written texts. Moodle also has a grading system for all of this, so that you and the students can chart continual assessment.
Ilias does not offer much in terms of motivation. There is a badges system that allows you to award badges to your students. You can create badges, assign an icon and a name, but you have to award each badge manually to each individual student, and there is no easy way to see other people's badges or to show off your own. Note, though, that badge capabilities may differ between different universities, because some types of badges need to be activated by system admins who may or may not want to offer them to their users.
Moodle offers great potential for gamification due to the ease in which badges can be awarded.
Most items that can be used for communication can be found in the Items menu under the section named Communication. There are forums, chat rooms, and virtual meeting rooms. Forums allow everyone to have discussions about specific topics. Students can exchange ideas as well as help each other out. Chat rooms are suited for communicating synchronously. In other words, everyone is having a discussion at the same time. The same is true for virtual meeting rooms, where video conferences take place. Forums, on the other hand, allow asynchronous communication over a longer time. All of these types of communication can be used by teachers as well as students. Another mode of communication is sending emails to everyone in a course. You can find that option in the members section of your course. Simply select the members you want to send a message to, or select members based on their role in the course, and right away. By default, only teachers can send emails to course members this way. However, you can change that in the course settings under additional features, where you can unlock this feature for every member in the course.
Additionally, Moodle offers workshops, special feedback functions, chat rooms, and forums. In my current class, students have asked and answered certain fun questions concerning pets or superpowers in this forum.
Ilias is specifically designed for asynchronous teaching. That means it offers a lot in terms of exercises, self-assessment, and homework management. But if you're looking for tools for synchronous teaching, your best bet is probably to look somewhere else.
I see the teaching tools issue a little bit differently than Andreas does, simply because I do sometimes send students to do something in Moodle or Ilias during class. For example, if I'm about to teach them something, I may give them a multiple choice question, series of multiple choice questions to answer ahead of time to demonstrate that maybe they do need the lesson that's coming up because they've tried to do some things quickly and they haven't quite managed it. They know they need some more information in order to do the quiz. So I'll do a before and after with certain kinds of quizzes before I teach them something. Um, they also can use the ether pads, or they can add to a glossary together during small groups during class. I see possibilities here for these being synchronous teaching tools, some of them. Nearpod is an LMS that provides further synchronous teaching tools. My favorites so far are collaboration boards, where students can react to each other's contributions via their own devices in class, and interactive videos. Here, for instance, I was able to insert my own questions that showed up on the students' phones as the video proceeded.
Let's take a look at some of the pros and cons we found while looking at Ilias. Ilias is very utilitarian. There is a design principle called form follows function, which states that an object's appearance should fit its intended purpose and not the other way around. Ilias matches that principle a lot. It does not provide a lot of visually appealing elements out of the box, but it makes up for that with a more concise and structured presentation. It tries to not waste too much screen space, and it offers a lot of options for grouping content. Sessions are collapsible structures, which means it is very easy to see different sessions' contents at a glance without having to navigate back and forth between them. In a similar vein, accordions, by being collapsible, allow us to present a lot of information without taking up too much space. Learning modules are another plus. They are very versatile when it comes to the type of contents they contain, and you can easily incorporate them into different objects. They can be attached to sessions, they can be grouped by type, or moved between folders, and so on. The same goes for activities and really any type of content. We can group them by learning goal and make it easy for students to find everything they need in the same place. Let's look at some of Ilias's cons. As mentioned earlier, the presentation can be somewhat bland at times. It might not always feel very appealing visually out of the box. There are ways to incorporate pictures and other visual elements, but the way to do that is not always intuitive, which is another thing Ilias has going against it. That just means that there are often a lot of individual steps involved in doing something that could be achieved with less effort.
Okay, now to encapsulate some of what we covered in a review in terms of pluses and minuses and how we perceive them in Moodle. We see Moodle as being more visually appealing, as having greater potential for creativity and personalization. And I will say that a personal touch can go a long way in the online teaching and learning environment. That the thumbnails and tiles are more visually distinct can be quite a practical advantage. Obviously, if they're more distinguishable, you spend less time looking for them. The gamification factors, earn a badge for showing up to class, for completing a task. There's a fun factor there. That is a nice touch as well. In Moodle, initially, especially for the instructor, it's much easier just to add content in. The structures in Ilias are more complex. There's a lot more embedding that happens. It's harder to discern what the outcome is going to be for putting various parts of content in various places, where Moodle, it's more of a question, more so a question of just adding them. Now, that can also lead to a disadvantage, and one of those could be that this, that you just keep adding one after another of these activities. and various features in Moodle. And then so you end up just having to scroll down through a lot of content to get to what you're looking for. I wouldn't underestimate how nice these little arrows are on the left side in Ilias. If you can just click on those arrows to collapse and expand various sections and sessions, and then accordion structure with the meta information at the top, you just end up with a tidier system, which and it's to this point of things being a little more free form. That room for creativity, that you can put pictures in different places, that there's nothing restricting where you put different kinds of content necessarily. This can end up with students maybe wondering what the most important factors are or how they're divided. So we have a kind of a almost a better forced organization in Ilias, which I would call an advantage there, as opposed to Moodle. So I hope that our comparison has helped you maybe to choose between the two learning content management systems if you're up against making that choice. Or maybe we've given you a few ideas of how to use either of them. And that would be a wonderful result for us as well. Thank you for your attention and interest. We are aware that both Ilias and Moodle are updated regularly. And Moodle, for example, did once upon a time have a feature that collapsed all content by clicking a button in the upper right-hand corner. Perhaps the developers will bring that feature back in the upcoming versions. Anyway, should you want to contact me with any questions or comments about this content, I welcome you to do so via LinkedIn. And now I want to close with a clear thank you to you, Andreas, for all of your work on this project and support to me as an educator. I'd like to extend that to IT staff working in educational contexts everywhere. Though you are often behind the scenes, you make an impact on our professional lives and thus also the futures of our students.
Yes, and we would also like to thank the developers of free and open source software like Moodle and Ilias. After all, it is only because they spend time and energy to provide us with easily accessible tools that we are able to teach and learn remotely in the first place, and that we are able to have a choice between different types of software.